Senator Ricketts.
Great. Thank you, Chairman Markey, for initiating this important hearing. And I like how you worked in the railroading terms into your opening statement there. That was good. I'm going to have to talk to my team about that when we have those opportunities. Thank you as well to our witnesses who are here with us today to talk about these important issues. This hearing serves as an incredible opportunity to share the investments and innovations that are being made in our entire rail system. Nebraska has a long history of railroading, and much of our development is intertwined with rail expansion in the West. Today, the rail industry employs over 8,000 Nebraskans. Rail ships grain, biofuels, and feed ingredients out of Nebraska while also importing in coal, fertilizer, and steel. What I'm getting at here is that rail volume is critically important to the economy of Nebraska. A point that is likely to be reiterated throughout this hearing: U.S. freight railroads can move 1 ton of freight more than 500 miles or nearly 500 miles on a single gallon of fuel. Now, to put in that perspective, that is able to cross the entire state of Nebraska and from Iowa to Colorado. So that's a pretty incredible efficiency to be able to move a ton of freight across the entire state of Nebraska with 1 gallon of fuel. Nationally, rail makes up about 28% of the freight movement by ton miles, but railroads only account for 1.7% of the total U.S. transportation-related greenhouse gas emissions. To give you another perspective, it would have taken almost 2 million additional trucks to handle the 34.5 million tons of freight that originated by rail in Nebraska in 2021 alone. America's railroads have already taken steps to further reduce emissions, including increasing the uses of biodiesel and renewable diesel. In some cases, renewable diesel and biodiesel can reduce carbon emissions by 25%. Utilizing more renewable diesel and biodiesel is a win-win scenario. Renewable diesel and biodiesel are produced from agricultural byproducts, wastes, and residues, such as soybeans, canola, and corn oils, animal fats, and used cooking oils. Creating value through byproducts sustains value for farmers across the country, decreases emissions, and supports renewable refining jobs across rural America. Renewable fuels are the here and now solution to maintain rail efficiency while decreasing emissions. There are ongoing efforts to push towards the electrification of our entire rail system. However, there are also many concerns with this approach. As you all know, the freight rail industry is an interconnected system of the 7 Class I railroads and hundreds of short-line railroads that own and maintain over 180,000 route miles of track throughout North America. At any given moment, 5 to 10% of the line haul locomotives being operated by the 7 Class I railroads are actually owned or leased by another railroad. As Class I railroads utilize one another's tracks and cars, this system is wholly reliant on the interoperability of technology. The deployment of unique locomotive technology would create captive fleets that serve small geographic regions, harming the efficiency of railroad operations and disrupting entire supply chains. Electrification of our nation's freight rail network would also require building and maintaining a reliable high-voltage catenary system. This kind of system would require infrastructure through cities, deserts, plains, rivers, rail tunnels, and bridges. Estimates put the cost of electrification at millions of dollars per railroad track mile. I am supportive of and excited for the industry to lead innovation in this space. North Platte is the home to the Bailey Yard, the world's largest classification yard. The Bailey Yard is responsible for sorting and building trains covering 2,850 acres and including more than 300 track miles. The Bailey Yard will actually be the home to 4 battery electric locomotives in the coming years, where the feasibility, safety, and reliability will be put to the test through Nebraska's hot summers and cold winters. This kind of industry lead innovation will ensure that our rail industry can make decisions that best support their workers, customers, and the supply chain as a whole. State and federal regulations cannot put the cart in front of the horse when it comes to reliability and safety. It is important our railroads maintain their interoperability, efficiency, reliability, and safety. Again, I look forward to hearing our witnesses' testimony and finding ways we can work together. And I also have an introduction from Mr. Jeffries, unless you're going to interview him, in which case then I will defer.
we're going to introduce all the witnesses and then hear their testimony in order, but you should, I think.
I'm on a roll.
At this time, introduce Mr. Jeffries.
Okay, very good. All right. So, Mr. Jeffries, thank you for joining us. Mr. Jeffries serves as the president and CEO of the Association of American Railroads, where he advocates for and works with member railroads to ensure the continued viability of America's railroad industry. Prior to this role, Mr. Jeffries was the senior vice president of the AAR's governmental affairs, where he led the development and promotion and implementation of legislative priorities for the AAR. Before joining the AAR, Mr. Jeffries worked within government for more than a decade, including as a senior policy advisor to the chairman of the U.S. Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. In this role, he provided policy guidance on a host of transportation issues, including railroad economic regulation and rail safety and passenger rail. Mr. Jeffries began his career in government serving as the senior advisor to the mayor of Lexington, Kentucky, before transitioning to the federal government. Prior to serving in the United States Senate, he worked for the U.S. Department of Transportation, Office of the Inspector General, and the U.S. Government Accountability Office. So again, thank you, Mr. Jeffries, for being here, and I look forward to having you answer our questions.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now, let me continue by